Welcome back to Oulton Park for the first race in round 4 of the Power Maxed Mini Challenge. After a fantastic qualifier for Neil Newstead and also William Phillips, let's go over to Ben Evans for the full grid.
Well, this promises to be quite something. A bumper grid headed then by Neil Newstead and Chris Russell. Chris Knox and Henry Dupree on row 2 from Luke Caudle and Hamish Brandon, then Rob Smith and Lawrence Davey. Kevin O'Connor and Carl Reid complete the JCW runners. Then it's William Phillips and Shane Stoney sharing the Cooper class front row from Josh Gollin and Ricky Page. Then Martin Poole and Simon Walton, Mark Wakefield and Grace Williams. Joe Polly completing the very, very sizable field. This, the inaugural Oulton Park Mini Festival. And away we go for the first of the Power Max Mini Challenge races. And it's a good start from pole position from Neil Newstead, but Chris Knox able to sneak through into second place ahead of Chris Russell as they dart through Oulton for the first time in car with Luke Caudle as he chases down the avenue in pursuit of Russell on the brakes into Cascades. And it is Neil Newstead who leads the way through the left-hander along Lakeside on towards Island Bend. There's a spin for Simon Walton and Grace Williams gets forced wide through absolutely no fault of her own. A big bumpy ride across the grass for Williams as Oulton will rejoin at the back of the field. Out front, Chris Knox already applying the pressure to Neil Newstead. He looks to the outside at Shell Oil's corner. And then they have the short sprint onto the chicane at Britain's. A little bit of smoke there from Luke Caudle's car as he chases down Chris Russell. Slight snap on the brakes as well there for Caudle. As out of Britain's the leading trio, as close as you like, over Hilltop and then into the heavy braking zone for Hizzies. Neil Newstead just half a car's length or so towards the inside of the road on the brake into Hizzies. He's making sure that Chris Knox is going to have a tough time of it in terms of fighting his way through. Already that leading trio breaking clear of the rest of the pack as we have a replay of the start from William Phillips' perspective. All the hard work in qualifying undone within metres of the start line because Shane Stoney moves to the lead of the Cooper class. So the JCW runners all flashing through Druiton in Kai Luke Caudle. He has definitely got a problem there. He seesaws at the wheel, but all is not as it should be. All is not as Neil Newstead would like it to be either at the front of the pack as they head through Lodge and on to complete the lap with Chris Knox all over his tail. He's forcing Neil Newstead to take the defensive line more often than not into Old Hall. And again, Newstead turns in a fraction of a second earlier than he'd like to have done. As those behind bump across the curves in pursuit. And there's the gap back to Davey. As Luke Caudle heads into the pits. Disappointment then for Caudle, but at least there are 2 further races to come. And the Cooper class, as ever, plenty to enjoy. Cresswell applies the pressure to Adrian Norman, with Grace Williams recovering from her first lap of ventures in the mix as well. Return to the front of the JCW class and the race overall. And still Chris Knox tucked in right behind Neil Newstead. And this is the Power Max Mini Challenge at its very, very best. The cars, to all intents and purposes, identical. The driving standards supremely high. No contact, just close bumper-to-bumper racing, exactly as it should be, and exactly what the fans enjoy watching. That leading trio, they've got to be careful not to slow themselves down too much because you can see that blue car of Lawrence Davey looming there in 4th position. He's broken clear of Henry Dupree, and that's going to be the really key point here for Chris Knox, is can he get himself up ahead of Neil Newstead before this becomes slightly larger than the 3-car train for the lead of the race. Fortunately, it's race over for Luke Caudle. His car was wheeled back into the garage. It's Chris Russell in pursuit of Chris Knox. Still Neil Newstead in the lead of the race and still hogging the middle of the road. He is determined not to leave a car's width into Lodge. He's making this as difficult as he can for Chris Knox. Meanwhile, in the Cooper class, it is the honour of Ricky Page to be taking the challenge to Shane Stoney. And then we have got William Phillips third in the Cooper class. And as ever in the Power Max Mini Challenge, essentially it's 2 races in one. The JCW cars and the Cooper class cars as close as you like. Into Cascades then, and Chris Knox looking every which way. I think the real question for me is, can Neil Newstead withstand this pressure through the checkered flag? If he Page likewise applying he can to Shane Stoney. Stoney withstanding Page for the time being. Well, that was a slight slide there from Stoney into Cascades, but Ricky Page here, he's caught a little bit because he has got William Phillips in behind him. In fact, he's not behind him, he's right alongside him as they sprint along Lakeside into the left-hander Island Bend, and that might give William Phillips the opportunity to sneak through. Depends how brave they both feel on the brakes. The answer is William Phillips feels very brave, so does Ricky Page. Phillips had the inside line and therefore the place. Through his ease, out at Knickerbrook, and once more up over Clay Hill. The Oulton Park circuit is such a roller coaster ride for these drivers, a very busy track as well. The corners coming thick and fast, as do the elevation changes. Neil Newstead and Chris Knox, the focus is solely on the next corner for Chris Russell. Let's stay in touch with this leading duo, because he just opened up a car's length or so as Knox again looks to challenge Newstead into Lodge Corner. But this is very clean driving from both of them. Neil Newstead is just making that one defensive manoeuvre into each and every turn. He's making Knox do it the hard way back now. Chris Knox draws alongside Neil Newstead as they come up over Deer Leak. They're side by side along the start and finish straight and into Oulton, and this is a golden opportunity for Knox, who darts through into Oulton. He takes the lead, but Neil Newstead gets a super exit as they come along the avenue. Newstead able to repass Knox. Frustration there for Chris Knox. He may lose out as well to Chris Russell as Knox gets his elbows out through Cascades. Retained second for the time being. Meanwhile in the Cooper class, Shane Stoney broken clear of the fight between William Phillips, Josh Gollin and Ricky Page as Phillips bumps across the grass on the Exeter Lodge. Gollin and Page both try to but cannot capitalise. They then all arrive into Oulton. Looking to the inside, Josh Gollin bumps across the curbs, goes absolutely door handle to door handle with William Phillips as the pair of them then propel down the avenue. But you can see that Phillips' rear view mirror there has been knocked into the side of the car as it's three wide into Cascades. Oh, and there's contact. Josh Gollin gets turned around and flies across the grass, knocks his front spoiler loose into the bargain. Patrick Mortimer is also another driver in the wars. He heads into the pits, and still the fight between Knox and Newstead continues out front. Meanwhile, Chris James, recently the British Touring Car Championship, is in pursuit of Henry Dupree and Lawrence Davey, and that fight for fourth is not really any point in the race. Lost touch with the tussle for the lead. To Lodge over Dearly once more. You barely know where to look, do you? Because there is such frenetic action going on pretty much from every single position within the field. Swooping through Oulton. Chris James jinks to the inside of Henry Dupree. Hamish Brandon follows through as well. Rob Smith is the next driver in the queue. It's Ricky Page and William Phillips dispute second place in the Cooper class. And then nose to tail into Oulton. Shane Stoney still leads the way in the Cooper class. Leads it reasonably comfortably. So there is Stoney down the avenue. He's got about 8 car lengths or thereabouts of a buffer over Ricky Page, and that in the Cooper class can sometimes feel like an absolute eternity. Oh, and problems there for Henry Dupree. Front left deflation, and so he will be heading into the pits for remedial work. Stoney continues to try and ease clear in the Cooper class. Meanwhile, it is still very, very tight in the JCW class. Lawrence Davey, Hamish Brandon and Rob Smith, but wave yellow flags. It's one of the Cooper class cars that's pulled off. Oh, and it's Ricky Page who's in trouble. So Ricky Page out of the race, and he was in line for a podium finish. Meanwhile, a change for the lead that would appear to have stuck as Chris Knox is ahead of Neil Newstead. Chris Russell is still very much with them. Joe Polly-Goldin does the sensible thing, signals where she's going to move on the trackers. Josh Gollin recovers to the inside of Grace Williams into Oulton and tips Grace Williams around, and she gets fired off into the tyre wall. The car comes to a pretty abrupt stop, but the tyres do their job. More importantly, the Mini Challenge car does its job, and Grace is uninjured but disappointed. So into Lodge Corner then for the final time. It has been a race with not a moment's respite for any of the leading protagonists. It is going to be Chris Knox who comes through to claim the first victory of the day, with second place going the way of Chris Russell and third place to Neil Newstead. Really hard-fought victory that for Chris Knox, one that he was quite rightly delighted in celebrating to a large mini festival crowd. So look at the results then. So the top 10 in the JCW class: Chris Knox from Chris Russell, Neil Newstead, Lawrence Davey, Hamish Brandon and Rob Smith. Shane Stoney victorious in the Cooper class from Josh Gollin and Martin Poole, and Simon Oulton recovering well to fourth. So applause as the drivers make the first podium of the day.
I got a good start, good enough to got past Will on the start, and then just sort of managed to hold on. But you know, there was 4 cars in a big long train, and then they just started battling a little bit, and it just allowed me to break the toe. And then I think it all kicked off behind me. I'm not really sure what happened. I just remember seeing cars going off and things like that.
Massive thanks to Accelerate Motorsport, Rivervale, Shop Play Leasing, and Tech Spares, and my dad's company, WESL. But a cracking race, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought I was going to struggle a little bit because we have only got 2 tyres this weekend, of other competitors I've saved from previous things, so we're out of new tyres. But cracking race with Chris and Neil, and I just got Neil coming out of the shell hairpin and sort of held it to the flag.
Luke, that was a pretty tough first race for you. What happened?
Yeah, not a good start to the day at all. Had a really good start off the line, got round turn 1. Chris Callister-Russell left the circuit, rejoined right in front of us, anchored on the brakes, and we had nowhere to go.
So, what's the prognosis for race 2?
Well, we'll be coming from the back now, but it's always our strong rolling start race, so we'll be coming from the back, and we will just push as hard as we can.
An exciting and eventful first race here at Oulton Park, resulting in a change of championship leader. There's a lot of work for Luke Cordell to be doing when he goes out in race number 2. We will see you after the break.